see you at the top. That's where I go. Hate me now, love me.
What's up, everybody? It's Jordan. I'm here for episode 6 of the See You at the Top podcast. I got a special guest today, Ben from the University of Oregon. He is an old friend of mine. We've hooped together. He jumps higher than me. He was probably better at basketball than me. You know, the list goes on and on. We actually tried out together for the University of Oregon, which someone will talk about when we get down to these questions. And Ben, you want to just kind of kick off where you're from, what you're doing right now, what's going on with you?
Yeah, so I'm from Sherwood, Oregon. It's kind of like a little bit of a suburb of Portland. In my 6th year at the University of Oregon on the track team. Right now, just working fall season, working towards the Olympic trials, I guess nationals too for college, and then just trying to go from there. Hopefully, sign a pro contract and you know make my dreams come true of being a pro athlete for at least a little bit. You know.
I guess this first question I was going to ask, you kind of answered it, but what has this season looked like with COVID?
The season, I guess for practice, it's been pretty normal. I mean, we have to wear our masks and the coaches will yell at us to spread out a little bit. But in terms of training, like track is pretty spread out. Like we're not, going and, playing 5-on-5 where everyone's like super close together. It's all pretty individualized. And then indoor season may not happen. Who knows? I'll probably jump once or twice, either just at Hayward or if they can find somewhere to jump there. And then outdoor season will be probably like they can just bring less people to the meet. Like it'll just, instead of being able to bring like 70 people on our team, it'll be like 50 or something like that. What the season's going to necessarily look like. But I mean, they still have the Olympics, they still have the trials, they have all those dates set. So it's just kind of getting a mark at whatever possible meet you can to get to those bigger and better meets.
I left right when they started the construction of Hayward. What is it? I mean, it's finished now. I mean, what is it like now? It looks crazy.
Well, I mean, people say it's probably the best track and field, whole stadium in the world. It's up there, and that's why they're hosting like world championships next year. It's phenomenal. And after not having a place to call home for, past 2 years, it's been nice just to be able to have everything all in one place. We have a weight room. We have so much. It's ridiculous. And I've always tried not to get too much into it of like, it starts to feel like you're like starstruck all the time. Like I've tried to not let that happen. Just because I'm not really that person where I'm like, oh, I need these things. Like if you give me some standards, a bar and a mat, like, man, I'll jump off of concrete if I have to. Like, yeah. So
does it ever get like, I don't want to use like an emotional, but maybe like, is it inspiring? Like, do you ever feel that like when you're like practicing there? Because you guys haven't had an event in Hayward yet, right?
They have like pictures everywhere. So you walk down a hallway and you're like, oh, this person was a 3-time national champion. Oh, this person was a gold medalist. This person. So it's kind of like, it's one of those things where you're not in the presence of greatness necessarily, but like those people aren't there. But sometimes it really feels like those people are kind of like looking down on you. It feels like you can put a little bit more pressure on yourself. Not everyone does. I kind of feel like it puts a little bit more pressure on us to, we have this great stadium. Our team has to come out and perform because we have this nice stadium. We have the amazing amenities that come with it. So we kind of have to like back it up at this point. But it does have it has that Hayward magic that everyone talks about. We didn't lose that magic, that's for sure.
Was basically how you decided to go to University of Oregon. So did that play any part of it? I guess what was really your thought process? I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah. So I guess like backstory in high school, like, I mean, we were hoopers. And I was a basketball player that could jump high. So I did high jump and jumped 6'10" at my first meet. So I was like, started talking here. And then at this point, this was like the height of Oregon track and field. Like they've got the guys team had won it was like 3 out of the 5 years or something like that. Like it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I want to come here because they're winning. Edward Chesrick, Galen Rupp, who else? There were so many people. It was one of those things where
too many
they
to
just kind
name.
of just dominance. Yeah. So at that point, I was talking to the Oregon coaches, and then my first meet at Hayward that year, I jumped 7 foot, and so both the multis coach would have been my coach, and then Johnson, who's the head coach, was there. They were at the meet, and so afterwards, I went and talked to them. They're like, "Hey, we want to get you on an official visit." Got in there a couple weeks later, and at that point, I jumped 7'1.5" like a week later. And I was just kind of like, you know what, I want to make a decision, just like get it over with so I can kind of focus on state and then anything else coming after that. And then also it was the best team. And I was like, you know what, I want to win. And that's what we do here. So,
You're talking about basketball, which I don't think we caught this on the intro of the podcast, but I was with you when you tried out for the Oregon basketball team. And so that's one of the questions I had here. What was, when you tried out for basketball, was playing basketball like a break from track? Because you had said you were a hooper that could jump high. So was basketball really like your first love and that's what you wanted to do? And you were break, like kind of how did you manage to go to the tryout?
yeah, first of all, you said you think I'm better than you. You're the one that made the team that year. I'm going to put that out there. I'm not trying to, basketball, I grew up playing it. I probably started at like 3 or 4. I was always playing with my older brother. So it was always like one of those things where it was always competitive for me and it was always pushing me. But then it just kind of like came to a point for basketball where it was like track I was doing so well that I was like, okay, I have to see where this goes. And that was like getting recruited. So like after that was my junior year that we tried. I don't know, was that your junior year as well?
That was my sophomore year.
Sophomore year?
2017. Yeah.
Yeah. So that year prior in track, my indoor season, I ended up getting hurt and then like had to sit out for a while. That wasn't a big deal. It was like I was out for like a couple weeks. Gotcha. I just kind of like hyperextended my knee on in Albuquerque and then had to sit out for a meet. And then so that was just kind of frustrating because and then I'd go play basketball and I was fine. I could dunk and everything. It just wasn't translating to track very much. So it was really frustrating because I was like, I just didn't have it at that point. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to try out for basketball coming into my junior year. Cause I kind of thought at that point track was like it was at the back of my mind. I feel like I also kind of did it for my dad a little bit just cause, like growing up, he was, our basketball coach, and then me and my older brother both went track in college. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give him a chance to, cheer on his son in a college basketball game, something like that. But yeah, just first love and just wanted to see what I could do. But coaches ran me into the ground like the days of the tryout. So that kind of sucked. But looking back, I was really glad that I didn't make the team. It was my first year with a new coach, and he definitely, it's like him letting me go to the tryouts really helped me gain his trust. Cause I was like, okay, like he clearly cares about me more than just like, oh, he can jump high. He can potentially, make me look like a better coach. It was, he actually kind of cared about me at that point. So it was a good thing. I went, had fun, realized I wasn't good enough to be a Division I college basketball player, and then let me really focus on high jump. So
what's crazy is when you say it, it's something that I loved, and what I enjoyed so much about being at the University of Oregon was that the people that we were around, I was around you a lot. I was around John a lot. I was around Tatum all the time. And it was just like the mindset of the athletes at that school, because you just said it, you were like, maybe I'll give my dad an opportunity to cheer on someone in college basketball. And you're talking about a Power 5 conference that just came off a Final Four. You go to other places, it's like people don't have that mindset of like, I'm going to go try and play for a team that just came off a Final Four and had 5 NBA draft picks. But that was every athlete at Oregon. That was the culture of the whole university in sports, that every player felt like, because John went and tried to play football. And it was like
Well,
Tatum
he
came
made
in,
the
yeah.
team. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
John went and played football. Tatum came to Oregon for football, but then he ended up doing track. And it's just like you
Yeah.
had all these multiple people. Tony Brooks James, another guy, track and football. So
Track
Devin
and
Allen. I mean, everybody was doing
Yeah.
multiple sports.
Yeah, and I don't think it's an arrogance. It's a confidence in your training. We do push ourselves. There's all these high schoolers that are like, yeah, I work really hard, and then I'll ask them what they do, and I'm like, you're not doing enough. Like the next level, like for me, I was number 2 in the nation for high jump coming out of high school, and I came in here, and a kid he was a senior my freshman year, he was busting my ass in every drill we did, and he was a nobody. Like he jumped 6'11", so like I was already better than him, but it was just like the difference in training and everything. Like we're just confident in our abilities and how hard we work, that it's like, you know what? But the culture here, and you find it with most people. There are some people, like when you're on the team, you'll see some people that are kind of like, you're like, how did you make it here? Like, where's your work ethic? But you see those people that have that kind of mindset. Those are the ones that like truly succeed in college and then make it on to pros and stuff like that.
Right. Totally agree with you on that. And that's, shout out all Oregon athletes. But there's people that there's people that say it and there's people that mean it. And I always felt like Oregon was a place that really meant it. Sweet. Yeah. Let's get into the injury, right? Because you kind of talked about it a couple of times. You just talked about it with the knee. When it happened in Seattle, correct?
Yeah.
During a warm up?
Yeah. The day before the first meet of my senior year. It get to that meet, and we're doing some pre-meet stuff. I go try and jump over the bar, just scissor it and land on my leg. I'm not sure, like I could totally like walk you through, like in my head, like I can envision going up to it, jumping, and then everything just shuts off, right? Like as I hit the mat, like I have no memory of it. I don't know where my knee bent, how it hurt. I fell off the mat, and then I'm like laying next to my trainer and my girlfriend at the time, um, just like trying to make sure that I wasn't like freaking out too much, because I went into a panic attack afterwards. Um,
What did it stem from? Like just that in just pain, or did you just kind of already like something's wrong?
I think it was just like my body recognizing that I had like completely destroyed my knee, and so it was just kind of like going into shock. Because I've never like experienced a panic attack or anything. Um, but yeah, it was a gnarly experience. Like I would never wish that on someone. And then whenever I see someone go down, like I'll see like a Kobe or a Clay, tear their Achilles or their ACL and get up and walk, and then go and do something. And it's really impressive to see that, because like after knowing what kind of pain they're going through, to be able to like push through it's really impressive.
So where would you? So I guess kind of just walk through that whole thing. You got injured. You said you kind of blacked out. You came back too. What was? I mean, I guess after the panic attack, where was your mindset? Let's just take it. You're in the hospital. You're with doctors. Where is your mind at that point? Like, what are you really thinking about?
Oh, dude, I no, that's the thing. So I went. I'll take you through that day. So it happened, and then I'm literally sitting with my left leg up on a bench to keep it kind of bent, so it's not like I'm not moving it at all. And I'm just sitting there with my trainer. She's just kind of like talking, like just trying to keep my mind off of everything. So she's like kind of making jokes and everything. But we're in Seattle, so we're not the football team. They don't take me to the hospital right away to get an MRI or anything. So we wait for the team to finish practice, like their whole pre-meet and everything. So we get back to the hotel. I just go and lay in my bed. And someone brings me dinner. I'm just kind of stuck in there by myself. I come down for our team meeting. Other than that, I'm up in my room. Wake up the next morning. My coach is like, "Hey, I know you're hurt, but I want you there early in the morning." So I had to wake up earlier than what I was kind of planning on doing, go to the meet just like with like a ace bandage on my knee. Went through the whole meet just kind of like sitting around filming and stuff like that, trying to help out. Um, Drove back to Oregon, and then it was probably another like 2 days before I got an MRI.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a long process. You know, everyone you hear about these football players, they're like, oh, they're at the hospital right now, and it's like, you know, 15 minutes after they got carted off the field. It wasn't like that for me. I was stuck, just kind of hanging out for quite a while. So it was So it was a couple days that I got the MRI. Then I got the MRI in the morning, and that was the longest day of my life, dude. The longest, because they're like, yeah, we'll have the results back, and then we'll let you know. So we had a team meeting later that day, and I was at the team meeting. My trainer pulled me aside, and she's like, "So you tore your was it ACL, meniscus, and LCL?" Um, and it was a really weird feeling for me because it was like there was like a I was so peaceful with it. Like I was just like at peace with kind of it happening, and like I can't change the fact that like my senior year is completely changed. Um and it was just my trainer was just so confident in her ability to get me back to where I am now, but also like she already had a plan set up before she even knew what had happened. I didn't have to worry about anything. I just had to worry about showing up at that point and just doing what she told me. But it was that stretch of probably like it was probably like 4 days after that I heard it that it was just kind of it was miserable.
And that's I will say that's something that, with being a D1 athlete, injuries happen all the time, but it seems like with Oregon, especially the track, the fact that they're so prepared for that already just makes it so much easier on the athletes. Just, you could, just like you said, I kind of just had to show up because I knew they were we had these people in place to just take care of us. So that's crazy. And that's wild that it took so long. Did you, in those days beforehand, did you kind of like, hey, I think I may have torn something. Oh, I just tweaked it.
Oh,
What?
I was like worst case scenario. Everyone's like, "Oh, don't think that way." But like in that situation, my knee was swollen, it hurt to walk, like all this like I never felt pain like that. Um, and so I was just like, okay, like my thought was I at least tore my ACL, I at least tore my meniscus. And everyone was like, oh, don't think that way. I was like, no, if I think that way and I like mentally am like, okay, I'm gonna be out for 6 months. And then I come back, get my MRI. They're like, oh, you just sprained your meniscus, or some light where it's like, oh, or we can just do a little trim of your meniscus and you're out for a month. The amount of change in your mental like capacity of like where you're at, it would be so much nicer. But then like also if I'm like, oh no, I just like sprained my knee, and then they're like, no, you totally wrecked it, you're gonna be out for a year, like that's gonna have more of a toll on me because it's just gonna be like, oh man, I thought I was just gonna be out for a little bit. So that was the one thing for me was just not really being a pessimist, but just like thinking worst case scenario and just being ready for it.
Because a lot of people, when they go back and they look at these injuries, because I had one where I had messed up two ligaments in my ankle, and I look back on it and I was going way too hard. Like I was just playing way too much basketball. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in 8, 9 hours a day, just constantly playing basketball. Didn't really go to class. I was more at the
Hey, it's the
gym playing
grind.
basketball.
It's
It's the
the
grind,
grind.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the reason is? Because you had said, "Oh, I think I tweaked it in over winter break playing basketball." Do you think you were pushing too hard? Were you just not into it? What do you think? Why do you think
No,
it happened?
I mean things happen. I don't think I was pushing myself, and I mean looking back, I wasn't really working that hard compared to what I've like pushed my body to now. It was just one of those. It happens. You're playing sports. You're gonna get injured. You're gonna get hurt. But Like that was the last thing on my mind is you're going to get hurt. And it's still the last thing on my mind is I'm going to get hurt. Cause if you're playing sports, if you're training in any way, shape or form, and you're afraid of getting hurt, you're more prone to getting hurt. So it comes with the sport. I wasn't pushing too much. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't being stupid. I was doing what I usually do, play basketball, have fun, high jump, and just unfortunate injury.
I know I've heard a lot about Coach Johnson with the track program. He's one of these characters,
Yeah.
legend, obviously all the
He is
above.
a character, that is for sure.
And did you have after the injury, what was your next conversation with him like? If you had one, what was it kind of like, hey, this is the game plan to get you back on track? Were you in a mind of like, am I gonna come back? Am I done with this? What did that conversation?
And he kind of pulled me aside and he's like, have you heard anything? I was like, yeah, I'm out. He's like, all right, well, get ready for next year because we're gonna need you. Um, it was really just me and my trainer at that point where we were just kind of like, this is what you're gonna be doing for the next couple weeks. We're gonna build up, and it was kind of just like I took it day by day. And I mean that's all you can do at that point. It's not a fun experience, but yeah.
What did the rehab process look? Because I'm sure it had ups and downs, as any rehab process would. So I guess what was something that you really took away from that?
I'm gonna talk about my trainer. So she's an amazing person. She's really the reason I was able to get back as healthy as I was and enjoy rehab. Because dude, it's so boring when all I can do is I would literally like sit on my couch all day, play video games, watch Netflix, and then I'd go to rehab. So that was like my one escape from just kind of like feeling completely like useless almost. Um, so most of the time I was pretty motivated where I was like, okay, like I'm gonna get back, I'm gonna get strong, and I've always enjoyed working out, so it wasn't hard for me to go. um but then there's always the days where, I mean, everyone has days where they just don't feel good, and you don't really want to work out, or you'll go to the gym and you're like, oh, I'm gonna play a little bit, but you end up just like jogging back and forth instead of running back and forth. And those were the days where she knew what to say, she knew what to like how to push me. um and then it was like to a certain point that like I was able to do it myself, where I was like, okay, like you're gonna get back and you're gonna use this to somehow motivate someone, you're gonna motivate teammates, stuff like that. Like you can have your own story of like how you came back from it, but
What's really your goal and focus, and what are you trying to get through right
yeah, I'm trying to get through this year um healthy. I'm trying to jump anywhere from, I haven't really put a number on it, but I want to break the school record. So I'd have to jump like a little over 7.5.
you're second right now, right, in school?
I'm second indoor, but I'm like fifth outdoor. So I'm trying to get that. I have a picture in Hayward, and I'm the only current athlete to have one. So for me, it's
Wow.
kind of a motivating force of being like, I want to cement that and be like people walk by and be like, yeah, that guy deserves to be there. Because I mean, I walk by all the people and they're just legends, and so I'm like, I don't feel like I'm there yet. So a big thing for me is cementing my legacy as like a kind of like, I want to be, when they think of Oregon high jump, I want them to think of me first. My big thing is just leaving everything on the table, being able to look back, if if the Olympic trials is my last meet, or if the national meet, or if Pac-12 is my last meet, I want to be able to look back and be like, you know what, you know, a year ago when I really started getting back into training, lifting hard, like I gave it my all. Like I couldn't have put on an extra 5-10 pounds on this lift. I couldn't have, like I really just like emptied the tank. That's kind of my goal, is like, did I push myself hard enough to where I met my full potential? And that's just like, you can't be mad at yourself. Like if I fall short but I'm at my full potential, I can't be mad just because someone's like gifted or just better than me. Like that's just how I've kind of viewed it at this point.
big that we do here with, KirBeBetter is just, we got to be just the best version of ourselves. When I was young, I would, be caught up in trying to be the next, the guy that I always looked up to, which, people think is crazy. Most people say LeBron, KD. The person I always looked up to and try to emulate my game after was Rondo. And like, I was not going to be the next Rajon Rondo. I could only be the
because you
best.
don't pass very well.
Yeah, well, I had to stop on that team because nobody else would
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
No, but that dude, that was such a fun time, and that was a quick like 2-3 month period, but that was so fun, and it was just so unfair. We had so many athletes on that team, like it was just they shouldn't have let us play, and I wasn't ready to be done playing with you guys. I was like,
Oh,
let me
okay.
get 5 more minutes with you guys before we're all done. Because everybody, because I knew I was leaving at that point. Tatum was graduating. It was really like the end. Your trainer, she seems like she obviously did a lot for you. What has kind of set her apart from other coaches and other trainers that you've had?
I think one of the things she did really well was she connected with me. She made herself feel like more of a friend than like a coach or she was a little bit younger. She's 31. I'm 23. So there's like a 7-8 year gap, but she was just really able to connect with me. And I don't know. She's just different. I kind of like, how in like movies, someone's on a quest and a person will show up, help him out, and then just kind of like disappear and just kind of like show up. That's kind of how that's how she seems like she came into my life. Like we came in at the same time. Like my freshman year was her first year working there. And then her last year was she quit right before this year started. So she kind of like came in, she was my saving grace when I needed her to, and then she moved on. But yeah, she's just an angel. It's hard to describe her. She's just, words can't do her justice. That's really how I feel about her. And it's hard to tell, like, cause like there's those people in your life that you're like, you want to tell, just like how thankful you are of them. And I can't put it into words, like just like how thankful I am of her and like what she truly means to me. But yeah, she knew how to make me smile. She knew how to get me motivated. And then she also knew how to, make fun of me when I wasn't doing a drill right. So
Good, man.
yeah.
It's just sometimes you can't explain those people, man, and everybody has them. And to wrap up here, man, tip to be your best self or keep pushing forward. So, if you had a tip for anybody going through an injury or, chasing their athletic dreams or chasing whatever dream it is, what's something that's kind of got you going and that you think would be really good for somebody else?
Speak life into people. I'll kind of go on a tangent here, but there are 3 people. I've had 3 situations in my life where I've kind of hit like points where I've questioned things and they've said stuff to me and it's stuck with me. And the first one was he's like my 7th grade science teacher who was also like one of my basketball coaches, but my last basketball game we lost in the state tournament and stuff like that. And we're getting on the bus and crying and everything. And it's just like that feeling of like, I'm not going to play basketball with a team again. And he told me, whatever you do, don't waste your talent. And at the time I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. He's, being nice and stuff like that, just trying to keep me happy during a kind of a tough little time. And that's really stuck with me and kind of pushed me and motivated me. Then the second one was I was on a phone call with my dad in Seattle when I heard my coach was getting fired my sophomore year of college. And I wanted to transfer. I wanted to quit. And he's like, you signed a commitment. He's like, you're not half-assing anything. You whole ass everything. And that's been one of those things where he's like, you signed a commitment. He's like, you told me your goals of like going in into Oregon, you wanted to come out with both the school records and all these accolades and stuff like that. He's like, I'm not letting you shortchange yourself. And then at the end of my sophomore year, the tough year that I kind of wanted to get away from track, after Pac-12s, Coach Johnson came up to me, like we're walking off the track, and this was like, I knew my coach was getting fired. I'd just gotten 13th and I had just gotten 4th the year prior. So like I should have gone up. He came up to me, he said, I got you. And those words stuck with me so much. And it was like during kind of quarantine and stuff like that, I was lifting in my own garage. And those things just kind of kept trickling back in my mind of like, there are people in your life that have your back, even though you don't necessarily know they do. But sometimes the words that they say to you impact you a little bit more than just like how they kind of do day to day, like the person they are day to day. Like, so just speak life into people, like, giving someone a compliment, telling them good job, like that's so simple and stuff like that. But it can go so far because there are some people that are just struggling, and especially with like people that are going through like rehab. Dude, those days are tough. If you can speak life into someone going through rehab, that can make their day, week, month. Like, honestly, sometimes it can keep them alive because, rehab is a different monster sometimes. So.
That's awesome, man. I definitely love that. That's what's up, man. And, to end on that, I think that's a good note to end on. You hit on everything that we believe here at this company, and, you definitely shared some wisdom there. So, thank you for being on the podcast. This is episode 6.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can drop this soon. Again, Ben, University of Oregon, track star in my eyes, and it seems like a lot of other people. Highest jumping white dude I've ever met in my entire life. Is not even close. And, again, man, just, thanks for being on the show, and, keep in touch, and we'll keep going. Thing we say here is, see you at the top. So you want to throw me a little point at the camera, see you at the top, and we'll wrap this thing up.
All right. See you at the top.
See you at the top, man. Appreciate it.
See you at the top. That's where I go. Hate me now.